everyone, it's Miss Frankie. I'm going to be talking about 7.8, which is subtracting with renaming. And this is going to be part 1. We're going to do the second part of it tomorrow just because it looked like they were overwhelmed with what was taking place today, so I wanted to break it down. We're going to be talking about renaming today. That's what we called it. So we want to look at this fraction problem here. I have 2 1/4 minus 1 3/4. Well, my steps for subtracting over here are fraction first, then whole number, then simplify. So if I try to subtract my fraction, I have 1/4 minus 3/4. That's a problem. I cannot subtract 1/4 minus 3/4. I have 1/4. I can't take 3/4 away from it. So this causes us to have this red flag and we don't know what to do. Well, we talked about it's the same idea as when we subtract. Let me make that a different number. When we subtract and the number we have to borrow from it. So like 58. We'll do that. Okay. So I can't take 8 away from 4. So I borrow from my 5, and that becomes a 4. Don't know what I was drawing there, 4. And this becomes a 14. I added 10 to it. So the same idea takes place with fractions. I have to borrow from my 2. So I borrow a whole number from my 2, and I'm left with 1 left. So 2 minus 1 whole is 1. Well, this 1 is a fraction. So we need to make that whole number into a fraction. Well, my denominator in my original problem is 4. So this is then 4/4. 4/4 is the same thing as a whole. I'm going to add that to my fraction I already had. So 4/4 plus 1/4. Well, that's 5/4. Now, if I think about this, 1 5/4 is the same thing as 2 1/4. If I were to take a minute here and go back through this and make it a top-heavy or improper fraction, I would end up with 4 times 1 is 4, plus 5 is 9/4. If I divide it out, 4 goes into 9 2 times. That's 8. And I end up with 1. So 2 1/4. So it is still the same fraction. Let me erase all this down here so I have room. Okay. So 1 5/4, I'm going to keep it this way. And then all I have to do is subtract normally. Okay, so 2 1/4, let's refresh this here. 2 1/4, I changed it. I subtracted a 1 whole from it, and that becomes 4/4 plus 1/4. So I have my whole that I left with, 5/4. So now I can actually do the problem. Subtract my fraction, 5/4 minus 3/4. That equals 2/4. 1 minus 1, so subtract my whole numbers. That's 0. I don't even have to write that. So I'm left with 2/4. Now they can leave it this way, or if they know that they can simplify, do it. So I know I can divide both by 2, and I'm left with 1/2. Okay, let's try another example just to kind of show you a couple things. So let's do, let me see here, 4 5/8 minus 2 7/8. So same thing, I'm going to start with my fractions. And I'm going to see if I can subtract. 5 minus 7. Nope, can't subtract. So now this first fraction, that's the one I have to work with. That first fraction I'm going to borrow. So I'm going to borrow 1 from my 4, and that becomes a 3. Well, this 1, I make that into a whole number fraction, or sorry, try that again. I make it into a unit. I can't even think of what it is. A whole fraction, just a whole number written as a fraction. That's my bad. And then I add it to my fraction I already have. So that 1 I took away is 8/8. The reason it's an 8 is because there's an 8 in my denominator of my problem. So 8/8 plus 5/8, well, that's 13/8. Then I bring the rest of my problem down, and I subtract. 13/8 minus 7/8, because I start with my fraction. Well, 13 minus 7 is 6/8, and 3 minus 2, that's 1. I can leave it like this, or if I know I need to simplify, I can simplify. So I'm going to simplify this one. So if I divide it by 2, I have 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So 1 3/4 is my final answer. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know. I know this step right here seemed to be the trickiest step for any of them. After they got that, they could manage the problem on their own. So I hope this helped. If it doesn't, please shoot me an email or let me know if you had some problems with it. There will be a part 2 tomorrow on the other way that we worked on it, which is where we changed to improper fractions. And some of the kids really seem to like that way too. So be on the lookout for it. Thanks a lot. Bye.